So in this tutorial, we're going to see how we can pull a list of ad groups that are part of a specific campaign ID. There is an existing get ad groups example file, which basically shows us how we can pull the ad groups. Unfortunately, in their ultimate wisdom, Google made a very badly made example, and I'm sorry for the toxicity, but this API basically sucks in many different ways. And one of the ways is basically, if we use this example here, as we can see, they have declared the campaign ID as a constant. No one knows why they have done that. It's a mystery that will go down in time as something that basically, mystery wrapped in an enigma. Why is a variable that needs to be, that something that changes is a constant? We don't know. And here is basically where we use that constant here below. So self, and then we reference the constant of this class, so it's referring to itself. And when we actually execute the class, as we can see, we don't instantiate an object. What we do is we basically refer to the method, a class level method. So we call it, because it's a static method, main. All of this to say that it's useless. This example here, we cannot use it in its current form. So I have here a slightly modified file, and we're just going to analyze the differences between the two side by side, so I understand exactly what's going on. Actually, the difference is very minor. So what we did here is, instead of having a property that is a constant, we have, instead of having a constant, we have a static property campaign ID. So if we compare it to the original where it had the constant, we actually ended up declaring a static campaign ID property. And then we use a constructor. So the constructor accepts the parameter as a CID, so that's basically campaign ID. And then what we do is we basically modify the value of this static property. We turn it into the value that's been passed inside the constructor. The rest of the code is pretty much the same. Nothing changed here. Here it's all the same. And then the difference is that here the very last parameter that's passed into this function, we can see that the function main, the function run example, sorry. So the function run example accepts 3 parameters. So it's the Adwords services, the Adwords session, and then campaign ID, finally campaign ID. So what we do is we basically declare that the third parameter is going to be the modified static property. So it's going to be modified by the constructor. So we see here that the constructor modified the static property, it turned it into the CID that was passed to it. And that's what we basically do compared to the original. So the original here, as if you remember, it just references the constant, which is useless to us. Constants should only be like API keys, something that doesn't change. So here's the difference. It's minor. So instead of referencing self constant, what we're doing is we're referencing the static property, campaign ID of the class get ad groups. And here towards the bottom, so as we remember in the previous example, it was something that was executed at the class level. So we basically didn't instantiate anything. We just executed the static method. And here we're not doing that. So what we're doing is we're going to instantiate, we're going to create an object based on the class get ad groups, into which we're going to pass the campaign ID. So if you remember, it's the constructor that is going to accept that campaign ID. So what we passed here is basically this, and so this is basically this becomes the value of this, a lot of this. So so basically we see that the final part of the equation, instead of doing it the previously how it was done by calling the method based on the class level method, we're not doing that. We have an object now, so like once we created that object, what we're going to do is we're going to execute the method main, and after we instantiate, after we created the object. The object was created with this parameter passed to it. So this object right now contains this campaign ID as the value of the static property campaign ID. So that's why when we execute that method, it's going to produce the results that we're after. So essentially, we end up with that which we're after. So here are all of the ad groups that are part of this specific campaign ID. If you enjoyed this video, if it was at all helpful, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be creating more of these videos in the future. Have a great day.